D-Day was 11 months ago this weekend. I'm 38, she's 36, we have a son who's 10 and a daughter who's 7. We met in college, got married right after grad school, moved twice for her career, and I thought we were about as solid as two people could be. On the Friday that started all this, I asked out of nowhere if she was having an affair with Ryan, a guy in her friend group who does freelance design work with her. I had no proof, just a string of missed dinner plans, her screen flipping down when I walked in, and the way she kept sleeping in the guest room to get better rest. She grabbed her phone, said no, said I would twist anything I saw, refused to hand it over, then told me she'd been thinking about divorce for a long time. She packed a duffel bag, walked past our kids on the couch, and drove away. For 3 weeks, I tried to keep it together. The kids asked where she was. I made up a work conference. I slept maybe 3 hours a night. One morning around 3, I logged into our family phone account and saw hundreds of late-night calls between her number and one listed as studio. That number belonged to Ryan. The log started 8 months earlier. An hour later, I cracked her Gmail using an old password and found a second email account that existed only to swap long messages with him. I read one where she told him she loved how he made her feel like a teen and that our kids will never be a problem for us. That line wrecked me. I printed a stack of messages, drove to Ryan's house, handed them to his wife at the door, gave her my number, and left. That same night, my wife showed up at the house asking to talk. She said Ryan's wife had kicked him out and was calling her nonstop. She claimed the affair was bigger than she realized, and she wanted to come home. I told her we would talk after I spoke with a lawyer. I retained one the next day, filed for a postnuptial agreement, and told her she could stay in the guest room until I decided. For a week, she cried, hovered, begged me to read self-help articles with her, and suggested joint therapy. I thought about it. Then she switched gears, said living under the same roof was toxic, moved into an Airbnb, and 2 days later I saw her car at Ryan's new apartment when I drove past on my way to work. She signed the postnup without hassle, so the house stays in my name. Neither of us can chase alimony. Our retirement accounts stay separate. Any new debt rides with the person who makes it. And there's a clause that says another affair during separation counts against custody. The state makes us live apart a full year before a divorce can finalize. And the clock started the night she moved into that Airbnb. So, we're 10 months in, the kids sleep better, the mortgage is covered, but her new credit card balance is her problem. And I'm spending the second half of this waiting period building a life that won't include her once the papers are stamped. Update 1. The push-pull has started. She texted that she missed bedtime with the kids and wanted to come back. When I said she had to cut Ryan off first, she called me controlling and said she needed space to figure herself out. A week later, she turned up with flowers, cried in the driveway, and claimed I was absolutely rude when I asked if she slept with Ryan since moving out. She refused a polygraph, so I kept the door closed. Co-parenting is a mess. She would agree on pickup at 5, then at 4:30 send a message that she had a flat tire and would need to get it fixed. Our son has stopped wanting to video chat with her. His school called me one time because he punched another kid who said his mom was sleeping around. I put him in therapy and started documenting every schedule change. I also moved half our savings into an account she could not touch. Midsummer, she hit me with 53 texts in one evening telling me Ryan was a mistake. She was going no contact. She had ordered a self-help workbook, and she needed me to believe in her so we could rebuild. I told her rebuilt meant full disclosure and individual therapy for her. She agreed. For 6 days, she was at the house making dinner, calling the kids to the table, doing dishes. On day 7, she borrowed my laptop to fill out job forms and left her email open. I saw a reservation confirmation for a hotel 2 towns over. She'd booked it for that night in Ryan's name. I printed it, handed it to her, told her the guest room was closed. She called me frozen and said I refused to fight for us. Kids are pulling away from her, and I don't want them to lose their mother, which was the reason to let her back in. But all she did was prove they were right to pull back. She's not capable of focusing on them. She's too deep in limerence to notice anything else around her. Update 2. My soon-to-be ex was adamant about in-house separation, but I refused, so she moved out. This time, she stayed with her sister. She pays half the mortgage, helps with pickup and drop-offs, and claims she had blocked Ryan for good. I still check the phone account every week. About a month in, I found 62 text messages to a new prepaid number over one weekend. When I confronted her, she said Ryan had cancer and she couldn't just abandon him. I told her to stop contacting me directly and that all communication would go through the parenting app. She tried to say the kids would blame me for breaking the family. Somewhere around that time, our 1-year mandatory separation was up and I filed for divorce. The day after I served her, she sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, crying, and said I was rushing it and that she just needed more time. She looked like a homeless woman with lots of mental issues. I told her to screw off. She started crying harder and said I was being cruel, then left. 2 weeks after that, she asked to meet at the park. She gave me a 3-page letter explaining her affair and how she wanted to start fresh as friends and maybe date again someday. I told her I only cared about setting a custody schedule that kept the kids out of her mess. She called me heartless and walked off. She had signed the postnup after the first in-house separation. The house stays in my name. No alimony, account stays separate. Any debt is the responsibility of whoever racks it up. And there's a clause that says if either of us resumes an affair, it can be used in custody. The reason why it took me so long to file is because our state requires a year of separation before a divorce can be finalized. I don't bother checking the logs now. I've seen enough. The kids are steady, the house is calm, and I'm not wasting more time on someone who keeps proving what her priorities are. I can almost see the finishing line. I'm just staying focused on getting to the other side of it. Final update. The divorce was finalized last week. I have primary custody. She gets alternate weekends and 1 midweek overnight when she gives 48 hours notice. Ryan has moved to another state, I hear, after his wife filed as well. So my ex is living with her sister. She texted the other day after court asking if we could have dinner as a family to celebrate our daughter's birthday together. I offered 2 separate parties instead. She said that proved I still loved her because I was afraid to face my feelings. I did not reply. I have a list on my fridge of things I can control. My workouts, the kids' homework, the meals we eat, the bedtime routine, the accounts in my name only, the lock on the front door. Tonight, the kids and I made frozen pizza and watched a movie. Halfway through, my son grabbed the remote, paused the screen, and said, "The house feels better." I tucked him in, stepped outside, and burned the last box of wedding photos in the fire pit. It felt final. Not dramatic, just paperwork turning into ash. There's no part of me waiting for her to wake up anymore. The hope that she would fix this, if not for me, for our children, kept me on a leash for the entirety of our separation. For nearly a year, it is gone now. What's left is quieter. Budget spreadsheets, new running shoes, a therapist, a son who sleeps through the night, a daughter who asked if she could paint her room. I told her yes. We picked a shade of blue together, and tomorrow we start on the first coat. Comments. The Ryan has cancer excuse is wild. They always come up with the most insane reason to keep the affair alive. Glad you didn't take the bait. Stay the course. You already done the hard part, and it's paying off. The parenting app rule is key. It keeps everything on record and cuts the drama way down. My ex hated that too because she couldn't spin stories on the phone anymore. Stick with it. Judges love clean documentation when custody comes up. Good call on dropping the phone log obsession. I did that once I had enough proof, and my stress level dropped overnight. At this point, the focus is in your own stability and the kids' routine. Sounds like you got that dialed in. Don't look back.